Hello everyone, it's Bella and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another Unsolved Mystery video. I really hope that you guys have been enjoying this Unsolved Mystery week in the spirit of Halloween. And if you have, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up for me. Don't forget to also comment down below any suggestions you have of cases you would like to see me cover. I am so open to suggestions and would love to do the cases that you guys want to see. So make sure to comment that down below and let's get into it. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the murder of Blair Adams. On the morning of July 1996, 31-year-old Blair Adams was found by a few strangers in a parking lot in Knoxville, Tennessee, half naked and beaten to death. Blair was from British Columbia and he worked there as a foreman for a construction company in Surrey, which he was not only really good at, but he also really loved his job according to everybody around him. Everyone that knew him said that he was a really hardworking guy. He was always optimistic, always happy, and just generally liked by everyone that he knew. But in July of 1996, that all changed and he pretty much became a completely different person. Blair started acting really strangely. He had a lot of anxiety and he had frequent and wild mood swings. He had mentioned to a few of his friends that he was depressed and was feeling really stressed out. Nobody knew what caused this sudden change in Blair's behavior or his personality or the way he was feeling. He had struggled with drugs and alcohol in the past, but everyone said that this was a thing of the past and he had turned his life around. Everybody around him noticed this change, especially because he went from this like really hard-working, happy-go-lucky guy that just got along with everyone and was really well liked by everyone to this guy who was having these huge mood swings, riddled with anxiety and depression. It's just such a complete 180 from just all of the sudden, just complete change in his personality. So everybody noticed, especially his mother, who asked him what was wrong, which he replied, "I don't think I should tell you about it," and then didn't say anything more about it, which is really sketchy. Like that, I would be so concerned if someone said that to me, like, "I don't think I should tell you about it. Like, what is going on? Tell me what is going on." And that is all he said. That's all the information she got. On Friday the 6th of July in 1996, everything seemed to have just become too much for Blair, so he went and got all of his savings out, which was about $6,000. He then went and emptied his safety deposit box, which had thousands of dollars worth of jewelry and gold and platinum, and just wiped it all. So he got the $6,000 out in 3 different currencies. He got it out in Canadian dollars, American dollars, and also German. He packed all of it into a green duffel bag. He also bought a black fanny pack to put all of his like gold and jewelry and stuff inside, and he also bought a black bag to put all of his documents and receipts in. 2 days after he did this, he went to the Canadian-American border to try and gain access into the US, which he was denied because of this massive amount of cash that he had on him. Also, he was a single man, so he kind of seemed like a drug mule. And then he also returned to the border again on foot to try and gain access, but once again he was denied. The next day, on Monday, Blair went to his work to quit his job and he asked for his last paycheck. He then went and spent $1,600 on a return airfare to Frankfurt, Germany for the following day. But he never ended up catching this flight because a few hours after he bought it, he desperately wanted to get into the US again. He was just really all over the place, and it only gets like crazier from here on. So he goes to his friend's house without any notice and is like really anxious, really stressed out, and is like, "Can you please smuggle me into the US because there is someone trying to kill me and I really need to get there?" And she was like, "What the hell? I'm sorry, no, I can't help you because I have a child and I can't leave my child, so I'm not gonna smuggle you into the US." So the next day, on Tuesday, he turns in his tickets to Germany and goes back to the US border and tries to get in again, and this time he actually gets through. So when Blair gets into the US, the first thing he does is go to Seattle, and when he gets to Seattle, he buys a $770 one-way ticket to Washington instead of a much cheaper $350 to $400 return fare, which even if you weren't returning, it still makes more sense to buy the ticket that is half price and then just not get on the plane back because it's literally half the price. And the weirdest part about it is when he gets to Washington, he doesn't stay. He just leaves and goes straight to Knoxville, which is like 500 miles away from Washington. So it's like doesn't make sense at all. He's just like has no idea what he's doing at this point. And not to mention, why did he even buy the ticket in the first place if he wasn't even going to stay in Washington? He goes to Washington, buys a $770 ticket there, and then doesn't stay there at all. He just straight up leaves. His behavior is really, really strange and erratic at this point, so I really hope I'm not confusing anyone because I know it's just so all over the place. It might be a little bit hard to keep up with even because he just went from this completely normal guy and then all of a sudden was just acting crazy, making all of these crazy decisions. So anyway, when he gets to Washington, as I said, he went straight to Knoxville, which is like 500 miles away from Washington, and when he was in Washington, he hired a white Toyota Camry to make the drive to Knoxville. Blair was then seen at a gas station at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday. So while he's at the gas station, and this is the weirdest part to me, and it's only going to get weirder, this specific part, when like it gets further into the case. It's weird now, but it's gonna get even weirder. So he tells the attendant, I can't start my car, I don't know what's going on. So the attendant has a look at the car, has a look at the keys, and he's like, you have the wrong keys, that's why you can't start the car, because these are not the right keys for the car. Which is like, how did he even get there if he didn't have the right keys? He had keys to a Nissan car and then told the attendant that he didn't have any other keys with him. So they searched the immediate area for the keys and they couldn't find them. Like, this case is so confusing. So he has to stay in Knoxville because he can't go anywhere. The rental company is closed until the next day and he doesn't have the keys for the car somehow, so he can't like change them over with the rental company or do whatever he has to do. So he hitchhikes with a tow truck to a nearby hotel, and the tow truck also takes the car to a repair yard for him as well. When he arrived at the hotel, the Fairfield Inn, he was acting really strangely, and one of the workers there, Tika Hartsfield, even noticed this and said that he was really agitated, really anxious. He was like moving about all the time, and he was acting although he was waiting for someone to come for him. So he was caught on the hotel security footage, and he walked in and out of the hotel 5 times in the space of 1 hour before he eventually came back in and paid for a room in the hotel. And I mean, he could have just been deciding whether or not he wanted to book the place, but the whole time he was walking in and out, and throughout the whole hour he was constantly checking behind him as if someone was coming for him, like he was waiting for something or expected something, or not expected something, but like something that wasn't necessarily going to come, like how he said he was expecting someone to kill him kind of thing. So he books the $100 room and he paid $150 for it and did not take the change. He let the hotel keep the change, and then he never went up to the room, not even once. So he takes his key, 7:37 p.m, leaves the hotel and never comes back. 12 hours later, on Thursday, July the 11th, about a half mile from the hotel, Blair's body was found in an unfinished motel's car park by the construction workers. His body was found beaten and naked from the waist down. His shirt was ripped open, his shoes off, and his socks were inside out. Lieutenant Jones, who was on the scene, said it looked as though Blair had not taken his own pants off. So his pants were off, but it looked as though someone else had taken them. There's like a distinct difference when you take your own pants off as to when someone else takes your pants off. So despite the fact that he was found naked from the waist down, there seems to be no evidence of sexual assault or anything, but he had been beaten, as I mentioned before. He had scratches and cuts all over his body, and some of them were defensive wounds as well, which shows that he did try and defend himself and fight the attackers off. In the end, it was a fatal blow to the stomach, which ruptured his stomach and ended up. So they did positively ID his body because he had $2,000 worth of jewelry and gold in a small bag in his pocket. He had another bag containing all of his receipts and stuff, like from his plane tickets, and he had $4,000 in the Canadian, American, and German currencies all around his body. Okay, now this is the weirdest part to me, the most strange, bizarre thing that I have heard, and this like pertains to the whole khaki thing, which I said was so weird, is about 10 feet away from him they found his Toyota khakis. After they found the body, they did a search. There was no murder weapons, nothing around his body. They searched the hotel room as well, but they found nothing because he hadn't even been there. After the murder, when his family was alerted, they had no idea why he was in Knoxville. No one had any idea why he went to any of the places that he went. He didn't know anyone there, he had no business there, and just generally he had no reason to be there. So this brings us to the theories of this case, and the first one I'm going to talk about, which is super unlikely, is the whole suicide theory. Honestly, I find this one unlikely because he had defensive wounds on his body. He also had, like, his pants had been taken off by someone, and I feel like it's a weird way to kill yourself, to punch yourself in the stomach so hard that you die. His family and friends are convinced that he wouldn't do that no matter what he was struggling with, but I guess you never know. It just, the theory doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make sense that he would go through all of that just to kill himself, but I guess it seemed like he was running away from something, and maybe he got sick of running away from this thing and then decided to end it because he didn't want to live his life in fear of these people that he thought was going to kill him. The next theory is that this was an accidental hit and run, which again doesn't make any sense because one, he died from a blow to the stomach, had defensive wounds, had his pants taken off. Unless they did do all of that to cover up that they hit him with their car, maybe they took his pants off to kind of look like it was something else, or I don't know, but there was defensive wounds, which you can't fight a car, so that wouldn't make sense either, and there is absolutely no evidence to support that theory. Also, it would be really like sketchy for him to be running away from people that were trying to kill him only to accidentally die from a hit and run. Okay, so that brings us to the last theory, which is murder, which I definitely think is the most likely theory considering the way that he was found. It definitely couldn't have been a robbery, which was one of the theories. I'm not even going to get into that because all of his money was found like around him, which is like if it was a robbery they would have taken that money. There's no way to determine why someone would want to murder him or what the motive was behind it because no one has any idea. And when he told his friend that he thought someone was going to kill him, he didn't mention why, he didn't mention who, he didn't mention anything about it. No one has any idea about this either. The only person he actually mentioned this to is that one friend he asked to smuggle him into the US, and she probably just thought it was because he really wanted to get into the US and he was like using it as an excuse to guilt trip her. But other than that, there's no one has any idea who could have wanted him dead. Sexual assault was another possible motive for the murder, but as I said, there was no evidence of sexual assault despite the fact that his pants had been pulled down, and there was no evidence of sexual activity either. It was also suggested that this was to do with the drugs, which I personally believe. No one around him thinks that he was involved in drugs or any of that kind of stuff anymore. But the fact that he had been previously and then all of a sudden he thought someone wanted to kill him and he went through all of these extreme efforts to try and get away from whoever this person was, if he was trying to get away from someone, just really like speaks drugs to me, especially if he was previously involved with them. I mean, he mentioned to his friend that someone was trying to kill him, but then he didn't go to the police, which a lot of people involved in drugs don't want to go to the police about it because they don't want to get in trouble for being involved with drugs. Instead, he withdrew all of his money, all of the things from his safety deposit, and then ran, which seems like a really weird thing to do if you're not involved in something sketchy. But there were no drugs found in his system, and also I kind of find this strange because all of the gold and jewelry and all of this cash was still found around him, which I feel like if the people who did this were like involved with drugs, they would definitely want to take all of his possessions, maybe even the car, especially the money and the jewelry, which kind of rules this out. There actually is one more theory, I lied, and that is the police didn't actually think anyone was following him. They think that he was imagining the threats and imagining that someone was following him, so he was running away because of his own mind to get away from his own imagination, and then he ended up dead anyway. It's possible that he was running due to some sort of mental illness, maybe schizophrenia. It is a very late onset at 31 years old, but it is possible. Maybe he did get back into drugs a little bit or did try them out and it just onset some sort of mental illness or something in his brain. His family did also have a history of mental illness, and I don't know if you guys have seen my video about Elisa Lam and her death. I will link it below if you haven't, but it kind of reminds me of that kind of thing. I spoke about the same kind of thing in her case, where I think that she was suffering from schizophrenia and ended up killing herself because she thought that she was running from someone and she thought that someone was trying to kill her. Based on his delusions, he could have gotten a fight with a random person or just some random people in the street that maybe he thought were following him, or maybe he just started acting weirdly towards, and then they got into a fight and he ended up dying because of a fatal blow because of it. I have absolutely no idea. I would love to know what you guys think. I personally think this either had something to do with something sketchy, whether it was drug related or something else. I think it was something sketchy, because who just withdraws all of their money, quits their job and starts acting so weirdly for no reason? Otherwise, I think it was just his own delusions, because both of those make the most sense in this situation. But there are no leads on anything he could have been involved in or any motivation as to why this happened. So I would love to hear your theories. If you had any more information on the case that I might have missed, would love to hear it. Make sure to comment down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye!